Welcome to Girl Talk. We are here at Trinity Christian School with 3 seniors who are graduating next week. We have Catherine Snare, Trinity Chen, and Senna Clark. And Catherine, where are you going next year?
I am going to James Madison University.
And Trinity?
I'm going to Christopher Newport University.
And Senna?
And I'm going to Case Western Reserve.
And right now we're going to answer some questions that people probably have.
How would you say you should deal with betrayal? And like how much is enough? How do you know when to end a friendship or a relationship?
Yeah, that's a good question. Betrayal is really hard to heal from. It really is. I've been betrayed once in my life, and it's very, very hard. What put things back in perspective when I was betrayed is I really looked to the greatest example in my life, and that was the betrayal of the Lord himself. He was a perfect being, betrayed by Judas, unfairly treated. And I know that's hard for us to relate because he's the Son of God, but we are weaker than he is. If that person betrayed you, and it depends on how close of a friend this person is to you. If this is a lifetime friend, and this is like the first experience you've had with this person, I would definitely bring in a third party. I would definitely confront the person. And depending on the outcome of that confrontation, I mean, it has to be a very peaceful confrontation, but depending on the outcome and the reaction of that person, you will know if you can continue a friendship with this person, or do you need to set boundaries.
I agree.
So you will know this is something she is destined to do again, and I need to protect myself and not allow her to do it, or she was completely remorseful, and I know she won't do it again. But then you have to understand, you're going to set yourself up to be hurt again. That's the betrayal of a friend. I don't believe in cutting people off for good. For me, cutting someone off for good means that that person no longer exists in my life. I think you can continue to pray for that person and have them as an acquaintance, but not someone that's in your inner circle.
Yeah. No, I think that's true.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about talking to them first, because I think it's really easy to get caught up in like anger or like madness and then just make your decision. But I think speaking with them before is definitely good before you make any rash decisions.
Well, it's also very natural for you to have a reaction and to let your emotion, but in the Bible it also says be angry but do not sin. So it's okay for you to be angry. God expects you to be angry. And that's why I'm saying you cannot confront this person alone.
Yeah.
If you choose to, that's fine. If you feel safe enough to do that, that's totally fine. But having someone else who's objective, spiritual, is probably safe for you. However, do not get too many people involved, because then that leads to gossip. And then you don't get caught up in gossip, you don't slander, and you don't tell people what this person did to you, because that's opening up the door to more trouble and more gossip.
If a friend relationship, if they're being abused, how do I interfere? And if so, like, how do I do that?
Yeah, that's becoming more common now. I think more girls and boys are feeling safer to come out and say they've been abused. You have to help the person get help. You have to be very upfront with this person. If they tell you, I have been abused, you have to say to them, I need to help you, and I need to take you to someone who can help you, because you can't help that person. But to leave them where they are is more trouble for them. Now, I'll give you 2 scenarios. They might resist, and they might tell you, no, I can't tell anybody. Please don't do this to me. Tell them what's going to happen if they don't share and if they don't open. But you also need to make them feel safe. You need to let them know you're safe. No one's going to hurt you. No one's going to harm you. We're not going to go to a stranger. Then, if they continue to resist, it really is out of your hands. It really is out of your hands. But if it's a very dangerous situation, you have to take action. You have to. And you will have to betray that trust. Because if that person is being beaten and being hurt, that person needs help.
Yeah.
And most abused victims do not ask for help.
Yeah.
Now, the other scenario is if you see a friend of yours who constantly has scratches and bruises, but does not speak, does not tell you that they're being abused, I would go ahead and ask. Because sometimes they're too scared to speak up.
That's true.
But if you tell them, then they might open up to you.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of that in college. So keep your eyes
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. Okay, and then I would say, how would you advise a friend if she gets pregnant out of wedlock? Because I feel like that's really controversial, obviously, for Christians, but they're your friend.
Yes, I would not encourage your friend to get an abortion.
Yeah.
But of course, that is the first thought that comes to mind because of the shame and the
Yeah.
guilt and the embarrassment. But if at all possible, you can try to say to your friend, let's try to pursue other ways to help keep the baby. Now, if your friend is very religious and her parents will not accept her being pregnant out of wedlock, that's something that you're going to have to process with her. Take her to, I think schools have counselors, take them to counseling. Encourage her to be open with her family, to tell her family. But do not carry the burden yourself, because this is something she did, and it's a decision that she has to make. Right or wrong, it's not your fault. All you can do is speak truth to that person and show them the right way. But ultimately, they're going to have to make their own decision, and it's a very hard decision.
Yeah.
And I would pray with them.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it can be really easy to kind of like distant that friendship. Because it's just like it creates this like separation, because it's like, yeah, like sex before marriage is something that I don't want to do. But yeah, I still feel like in that like position, it's like really important to show them love and like still be like a really close friend.
Right, because back when I was growing up and in high school, it was such a shameful act that the person was ostracized. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because, yes, sex before marriage is a sin, but gossip is a sin. Slander is a sin. Lying is a sin. Cheating is a sin. So
Yeah.
we don't need to categorize sins and put what's the first degree, second degree, third degree. So you need to treat her as just she's loved by the Lord and forgiven by the Lord. And that's something you've got to tell her, that even though she had sex before marriage and she got pregnant, she needs to pray for repentance. She needs to turn to the Lord and confess her sin and then seek guidance. What do I do now with
Yeah.
this child?
How do you handle your college roommate when they start to drink and dabble with drugs?
And you will have that. Unfortunately, if you don't pre-select your college roommate, you will have that, or they will bring friends who do that. First step is you guard yourself. Do not be tempted to dabble with drugs and mix them with alcohol. That, I've seen many young kids just get killed from that right away. If you don't get killed, it messes with your mind. If it's your roommate, I think you need to be very clear with your roommate that you cannot have that and you can't be around that. And I would probably take action to change your room. You would be the one to have to leave. You cannot ask her to leave. And I would, if you have a good relationship with her, I would try to speak to her about, what that can do. And you know what? You would be surprised in college how many people stand up against drugs and alcohol. They really do.
Yeah.
And they're not mocked for it.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not put down for it. It's actually the new norm. It's people who are standing up for what's right, because your parents paid a lot of money to send you to this school. Okay,
Yeah.
they didn't send you money. They didn't send you to school to drink and get, drugged up and party. Of course, you will have a good time. Other ways, you don't need alcohol and drugs. But I would communicate immediately with this person. I would not wait. As soon as you see the first thing, say, hey, that is just something I cannot be around.
Yeah.
And then decisions have to be made.
Yeah.
But are you prepared for that? Are you prepared to have those
Crazy.
tough conversations? Because how about this? What about a roommate who brings her boyfriend and they're having sex in the room?
I know. I'm so
I
worried.
think it's one of those things that's like, yeah, we all have talked about it and you have your answer kind of in your head, but when it actually plays out, it's so much harder.
Yeah.
Confronting someone is very, very hard, especially someone you don't know.
Especially if you're also, even if you're friends with them, I feel like if it's a roommate and they like are more secular than you, it's gonna be hard to, because you don't want to criticize them and critique them on their life and then kind of risk that relationship ending.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's why you have to be prepared ahead of time how to communicate. I don't know if you could read books on it, but how do you communicate in a way where you don't offend the person in front of you, where you're not calling them out on their sins, and you're actually coming from a place of being sincere and genuinely concerned about them, not just about yourself.
Yeah.
So, and that takes skill, and that takes time. It takes prayer, it takes experience, and it takes speaking to older people in your life and ask them for advice. Danielle told me about a really good book that she just read. I have not read it myself, but she said it's called 22. When she turned 22, she read this book a few months back in October, and she said the author writes to college students about everything she wishes someone told her when she was 22. And it's about relationships, and it's about roommates, and it's about college. So that might be a book to read before you go off to college.
Yeah.
And be very well versed in the Bible. The Bible is the foundation of your faith, the gospel.
Yeah.
So that's your standard right there. It's not each other. It's not people. It's who Christ is in the Bible.
Yeah.
I agree.
Do you guys have any more questions?
I think so.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that concludes our girl talk for today. Please join us next week. Thank you, girls. Thank you for joining us today with Girl Talk. I'm very grateful to Catherine, Trinity, and Senna for all these great questions and their contributions to the answers. And please join us again for our next episode.